Hey everybody, this is Alex Gelhar from NFL.com, and I'm going off the record today.
Well, hello and welcome. I'm Andy Singleton, People's Pen on Twitter. You're tuned into Off the Record. This is Nickel Press TV. We're up to episode 11 in advance of week 6 of the NFL regular season. And as you may know, we switched up and tweaked the format a little bit last week. Seemed to be a good thing. So far, people seem to like the changes we've made. So we're going to continue that. And this week, we've brought in 2 more phenomenal guests. We have Mr. Alex Gelhar of NFL.com. That's right, the National Football League. So we've gone straight to the source. And he'll be taking on our other guest this week, Andrew Thomas Jordan, who's making his second appearance on Off the Record. And he's currently writing for Inside The Pylon, which is another tremendous site, making rapid waves throughout the football world. Just to remind you guys of the format, we're going to give each guest 60 seconds to make a case for a particular player if they're choosing. I try to pair similar players together, and then we'll have 5 rounds where they will make their 60-second arguments for each player, after which Tehol Beddict, a.k.a. the Lord, will rule and declare a winner on those arguments being made. So this is going to be 5 rounds, should be short and sweet, fun yet informational. And we'll sprinkle the fantasy doctor, Dr. Selene Parekh, in for some injury updates as well. So I want to remind everybody, if you're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can find us. Just look for Nickel Press TV. Also want to give thanks to those of you who are watching us via Reddit, or if you found us through fantasyrundown.com. Appreciate your time. Hope you're liking the show. If you are, please subscribe to the channel while you're here. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, which means you like the video. Also, don't be shy. You can tell a friend. You can leave a comment. We'll answer the questions. We'll have our guests on the show answer any of your questions if you have specific for the guests. Before I get to the panel, let me just also remind you our partners, Dynasty Football Factory, Fantasy Assembly, and Friends with Fantasy Benefits, all tremendous websites. You should be checking out their articles and their work. And lastly, our new sponsor, OfficialFantasyRings.com, which is Michael Rappaport's fantasy ring of choice as well. You can check them out, check out their quality merchandise and products. And when you win your league, you can get a championship ring to show off and wear around town. So as I mentioned, our guests this week are Alex Gelhar and Andrew Thomas Jordan. So we're going to get things going right away. We're going to jump right into round 1. We got Terrance West versus Theo Riddick. Alex, we're going to start with you. Taking it away with Terrance West. Why do you like Terrance West going forward?
Well, why I like Terrance West is because the backup that was stealing carries from him is now going to be stealing those carries from Theo Riddick instead. And over the last 2 weeks, Terrance West has averaged 6.5 yards per carry on his 32 attempts. He should have had more attempts, but he didn't. And as a result, Mark Trestman, the offensive coordinator in Baltimore, has now been fired. Joe Flacco was complaining about not establishing the run enough and not using that to help set up the pass. And it's been clear since the preseason that Terrance West is the best back on that backfield. Kenneth Dixon is still wearing a knee brace, isn't going to come in and steal touches. Buck Allen, get him out of here. We don't even need him. Terrance West is going to be the featured back in an offense that could be set to explode. So he's the guy I'd rather ride on my roster than somebody like Theo Riddick, who's a little more game script dependent, because if the Lions are up, they're not going to be throwing the ball to Theo Riddick.
So Andrew, let's go. You got Riddick. What's your take?
So my take with Theo Riddick, I know, Forsett is coming into Detroit, but it's not like we were worried about Riddick when Amir Abdullah was there. He's still going to give you that safe PPR production. Again, he's got something like 80-plus points in PPR leagues already for the season. And he went 11 for 49 on the ground, in addition to the 6 for 33 and 2 touchdowns last week. He's going to be running the ball. In fact, I think that his efficiency might bump up a little bit now that Forsett is there. He can get a breather every now and then. We're going to see a more explosive guy on the field. He didn't even lose a lot of explosiveness the more work he got, but I like the idea that he's going to be a little fresher every time he's out there.
Lord, do you have a winner that you would like to declare out of these 2 running backs based on the arguments and testimony that has been laid before you?
Quite exceptional arguments on both sides there. big fan of both. I got to ding Andrew a little bit for having Lake and Tomlinson jersey in the background. That's embarrassing. I'm not sure what that's doing. Sister dated. I don't know what's going on there. The problem, Theo Riddick, we heard no mention of the yards per carry career-wise, pretty low. I think Forset's going to come in there and get some carries again. That's just, I like West seems to be getting all the carries, and then with Trestman getting out of there, no excuse for what happened at in the second half of the game this last week. It makes no sense. Nothing makes sense about what they're doing. West has looked good all year. I'm going to lean that way.
So we got 1-0. Alex Gelhar, after one round. We're going to move on to wide receivers, similar type of role. Smallish slot kind of guy who some weeks looks really good, and everybody wishes they had him, but nobody really feels comfortable with. I'm talking about Jeremy Kerley and Jamison Crowder. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Gelhar, and I just want to point out that when you told me you wanted to talk about Jeremy Kerley, you had not known that Cap was going to be named the starter. So I'm wondering if that affected your opinion and changed your stance on this at all, or if you're still liking Kerley going forward.
I still like Kerley going forward. There's certainly some questions with Kaepernick. I mean, he's not the most accurate quarterback. Is he going to want to chuck it deep more to Torrey Smith? Or is him starting or is he starting because they want to get Torrey Smith going? However, there's still a lot of things that I like about Kerley. Right now, he owns 30% of the targets in San Francisco. He also plays on a bad team with a bad defense that's going to be down a lot, that already runs a ton of plays thanks to Chip Kelly bringing his fast-paced offense in there. The 49ers were one of the slowest-paced teams in years past, and now they're one of the top teams in terms of plays run. Bad teams always throw the ball more, as I mentioned, and I don't think any of us expect the 49ers to be winning a lot of games. So even if Kaepernick isn't accurate with as many of his throws, there's still going to be a lot of throws going Kerley's way, and he was producing with the inaccurate Blaine Gabbert already. So I like what I see, and I think he's a good safe floor PPR play.
And conversely, Mr. Crowder?
Well, for me, he's just getting it done in so many ways. He had the punt return touchdown last week. He caught touchdowns in back-to-back games, weeks 2 and 3. He is the underrated PPR guy. For everyone that was talking about, let's say, a Charles Sims at running back, how he was going to be the steal, Jamison Crowder is the wide receiver version of that. He is the PPR steal in leagues. He's got double-digit points in 4 out of 5 games. He is someone Kirk Cousins looks to all the time. He looks to him over the middle of the field, and that's why we didn't see a lot of Jordan Reed production early in the season. Now that they've found a way to coexist, it's only going to open things up a little more. Teams can't quite key on Crowder. He's got all the chemistry with his quarterback, something that we can't guarantee with Kerley and Kaepernick.
I gotta tell the audience, when this format originated, I was giving the guests 90 seconds. We cut it down to 60 seconds this week, and it looks like we're going to have to cut it down to 45 going forward because these guys are on point. They're bringing their A game. I got to ask the Lord now, who do you like after this round? Are you taking Kerley or Crowder based on what you just heard?
Again, I was loving Kerley with Blaine, limp wristy Gabbert out there, dump offs all day. They signed him an hour before the season started. He's immediately their greatest target, whatever, PPR monster. I'm a little concerned there with Kaepernick coming in, maybe trying to chuck it down the field. But then we got, Crowder. I mean, is he touchdown dependent here? Is that going to continue? The catches per game, can't that be high? I don't have the numbers in front of me. Nobody mentioned those, so I'm not sure what those are. They're probably low. But, so we've got, the Kaepernick coming in, and then we've got the low amount of catches for Crowder with all the different weapons. This is so difficult for me. This is so challenging for me. I'll lean Crowder just because I'm rooting for the Buffalo Bills to put the clamps on Kaepernick and the 49ers this week and go 4-2. Bills Mafia, it's on.
All right. Well, we have a tie after 2 rounds. We're going to keep it with wide receivers. Actually, this is going to be a pretty wide receiver heavy show as we got two more battles of wide receivers going on. But week 6 specifically, if you're looking for a streaming option, these guys have 2 in mind that they like. I'm going to start with Andrew, who is going with Jersey native. They both are from the same state. Kenny Britt, you like him in week 6. Is there a specific reason why?
Well, he's leading the team in snaps. and he is their wide receiver. Tavon Austin does not count for me as a wide receiver. He is just a gadget player. He's got, just like Crowder, double digits in 4 out of 5 games. He is the number 1 wide receiver on his team. There's not a lot of guys like that are widely available like this. And if you're looking for a DFS streamer, as big and as athletic as he is, he can get into the end zone if they can get him the ball consistently. They're starting to realize that is working for them. Now, I just don't know about Chris Conley. The deep ball is not Alex Smith's strong point. For me, I would take the production that I can get that still has a high ceiling to it.
All right, taking a preemptive strike at Mr. Gelhar's target for Week 6 and Chris Conley.
Well, the thing about Chris Conley is, as you mentioned, he can get deep. Alex Smith isn't the greatest at throwing the deep balls. But Chris Conley, with his speed and his size and the matchup, I really like what he's got lined up here, because he's playing an Oakland defense that leads the league in passing yards allowed and leads the league in plays with 9 40-plus yard receptions against them. This is all kind of lining up for a good Conley game, and with the Raiders' offense clicking and probably going to be able to put up a bunch of points on the Chiefs, going to turn into a pass-heavy game script with Alex Smith. And Conley's 2 best games of the year, Week 1 and Week 4, came when Smith had 40-plus pass attempts. Now, sure, Kenny Britt is the Rams' number 1 wide receiver, but he's trailing Tavon Austin in targets, and he's trailing Brian Quick in touchdowns. So he's also got Case Keenum at quarterback. So if we're going to take shots at quarterbacks, let's take one at him and not Alex Smith. I'd much rather have the excitement and the fun of chasing a Chris Conley big play than waiting and wishing for Kenny Britt to get his 4 catches and 60 yards again.
Just at the buzzer. Lord, do you have a winner that you can declare?
So many great arguments here. Fantasy football is fun unless you're me and you're on your knees screaming at the TV for 12 hours straight or whatever a full day of football is, from 10 o'clock a.m. here on the West Coast until 10 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever. My life is in shambles. I wish I didn't play or watch football. Sometimes I feel like it's ruined my life. I don't know. Is fantasy football really fun? I don't know. Maybe if you're winning, losing, no. And even when you are winning, it's still extremely stressful and maybe is a reason my life sucks. But again, I got to ding Andrew. He didn't mention Brian Quick. He's been getting the TDs lately. Not sure why no mention there. Conley, is it fun? Is it fun to hope for the deep ball against him? I mean, I remember 6 years ago or whatever year it was, the first game of Miles Austin's, the first start he ever got, when I was having fun at midnight, picked him up in the middle of the night, stuck him in there at Kansas City. I remember like it was yesterday, and he had like 280 yards and 2 TDs or 2 whatever raw bombs. That was fun. That was a good memory. So that's inspiring me to go with the Conley side.
Oh, all right. We got a 2-1 advantage now. We're going to keep wide receivers one more time. And who is it time to drop?
If you listen closely, you can hear Michael Floyd owners screaming, because! Now, just owning him is enough of a headache that I just don't want him anymore. Devante Parker is still, when we talk about the 2 of these receivers, he is the more athletically gifted guy. I just haven't seen anything from Floyd that I don't know. I don't see it. He's not as fast as Brown. He's not as creative and as good a route runner as Fitzgerald. I just don't see anything that wows me. And these are the guys I hate having on my roster. You see everything that tells you have to keep them. They're going to be a wide receiver 4 this week. They're going to be a wide receiver 5. Why keep them and pick up a 6? You have to drop these guys, or else they're going to drag you down into the 6-6 record when you're looking back at your fantasy season. Just get rid of them.
I will remind people, and if you're familiar with me, you're familiar that I was a big Devante Parker fan coming out of college. Why are you feeling like it's time to give up on this guy at this point, Alex?
Well, a number of reasons. I mean, I'm a Michael Floyd owner, and I'm probably close to dropping him too. But if forced to drop one of these 2 guys, I'd rather drop Parker, because at least Floyd, we've seen him produce consistently in the past, and he's still attached to a good quarterback. While he sucks right now, there's hope that he could get better. Meanwhile, Devante Parker is the kind of player that everybody loved out of college and keeps wishing he's going to be great. but he just might not be there. My roommate, noted wide receiver analyst Matt Harmon, pounded Devante Parker with reception perception, and you see it on the field. He's inconsistent, and he's playing with an inconsistent quarterback, and his target share is inconsistent. So far this year, he's seen 28.9% of the targets, 15% of the targets, 12% of the targets, and 16% of the targets. Jarvis Landry gets all the looks there from Ryan Tannehill. And basically what you're hoping for Parker is a big play, but that role is duplicative because they have Kenny Stills there for the home run shot too. So if Kenny Stills catches the deep touchdown, Parker's going to do nothing. And that's just the kind of guy where I'd rather know that either Michael Floyd's going to be awful on my bench or he's going to produce rather than wishing every time that Parker's going to maybe score points.
Goodness gracious, Tony Reale, can you give me the little thing where I can bang points up, bing, 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 because I wanted to give him 20 for saying duplicative?
Well,
duplicative. I wanted to get some bonus points, and he came with some serious statistics there on the target rate. I was leaning towards Michael Floyd because he's a bum and he's on the Cardinals, who I hate, and I Fitz and John Brown, and basically anyone to Floyd. God, I like Devante Parker. I want him to be a winner. I want it to happen for him. Tannehill can't throw. Speaking of Alex Smith only throwing deep balls, Tannehill's deep ball, they're pretty garbage his whole career, although he has, I guess, supposedly hit on a few this year. Parker. I like Parker as more of a home run type. We were talking about Alex was mentioning having fun earlier, which I never do, when I was mentioning Miles Austin 5 or 6 years ago. How old am I? I think I'm really old because there's no way that was 5 or 6 years ago. That must have been like 12 years ago. How long has Miles Austin been out of the league? I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. I'm going to go with Devante Parker just because I feel like there's maybe a smidgen of upside there where Floyd is just known for giving me goose egg after goose egg and just embarrassing himself on the football field. The Arizona Cardinals are finished, so we're going with Devante Parker.
Wait, so hold on.
Wait, hold on.
You'd rather keep Devante Parker?
Yes.
But then Andrew has indeed won this round.
Wow, man, what an emotional swing that last minute there was.
Yeah. They're all emotional when the Lord is involved. So that means we actually do have a tie. So this is 2 weeks in a row with this new format. We have a tie heading into the fifth and final round.
You setting it up like this?
No, this is completely a testament to how great our guests are that we just can't separate clearly. So we're gonna have to go to the final fifth round tiebreaker. Before we do that, we're gonna leave you with a little suspense. We're gonna go to the doctor and bring in Selene Parekh right now for some injury updates.
Hey guys, Dr. Selene Parekh, the Fantasy Doctor here, giving you a breakdown of Week 6 expectations based on injuries that happened in Week 5 or before. So we're going to break it down, starting off with Cody Kessler. Cody Kessler, is just unfortunate for the Browns. Not one quarterback can make it through the entire game. So that's the first thing I'd like to see. A quarterback this season for the Browns make it through the entire game. Cody Kessler had what looked like a very bad chest or rib injury. Well, the great news for the Browns and for him is that all the imaging showed there's no fractures, no lung issues, no dislocations. So this really becomes a pain issue, and depending on how his pain is this week, look for him to be suited up this weekend. It's really going to be a day-to-day situation. I anticipate that he'll be in the lineup. Jeremy Hills from the Bengals had a chest injury, quote-unquote chest injury, coming into last week's play with Cowboys. Ends up re-injuring what was coined as a chest injury, but really turns out to be more of a shoulder injury right in this area here. Really kind of more like a sprain. Again, day-to-day, anticipate that he'll be back this weekend. Eddie Lacy, this guy's tough, had an ankle sprain. It seems to be a mild ankle sprain, so another person who I think will be fine for the weekend. Steve Smith, this guy is tough as nails. We know that. We've seen it time and time after again throughout his entire career. What looked like potentially to be a more serious injury turns out to be a sprain. Now, he tried to get back into the game late in the game last week, but was counseled against that from the medical perspective as well as the coaching perspective, so he sat the rest of the game out. But again, this looks looks like a mild ankle sprain, which Steve Smith should be able to play through this weekend. Latavius Murray, this is a bigger issue. Latavius Murray has a what's called a turf toe. Now, if you look at your foot here, that's what that looks like. Your turf toe is damage to the ligaments or the structures on the bottom of that big toe. The turf toe it accounts for more lost time than any injury in the NFL. It is a big injury, really has implications in pushing off, cutting, and running. So he missed week 5. Anticipation is that he'll be ready for week 6, but I'll tell you, usually these injuries take 2 to 4 weeks to come back from, and sometimes they even need surgery. So if he's in the lineup this week, I don't expect much, but I anticipate he's going to be out for another 2 to 4 weeks. And finally, Charles Sims. Charles Sims has a knee injury that's unspecified, but we clearly know it's big enough that it's putting him on the IR. So there's a chance he misses the entire season. Until we know more details about what's really going on for him. Can't really give real timelines here, but it's got to be something serious. This is Dr. Selene Parekh, the Fantasy Doctor. We will look forward to talking to you next week.
All right. Well, thank you to the doctor again for his insight and knowledge on all things injury related. We, of course, are in a tie here, 2-2. We're going to go to the final 5th round for the tiebreaker. This is kind of a redraft and kind of a dynasty look because we're talking about 2 rookie running backs in Devante Parker and Paul Perkins, both of whom may have opportunities right now that weren't necessarily expected a week or 2 ago. So, Lord, I'm going to ask, who would you like to go first in this 5th and final tiebreaker?
Well, not to be duplicative, so I'm going to go with Alex here, can lead it off.
All right, Alex, you are on the floor. You have Devante Parker as your client.
Right. So, I mean, in redraft or dynasty, if you want to have Bobby Rainey's backup, then you can go ahead and pick up Paul Perkins. But if you want to draft a back that has a feature back skill set and a chance to either play in a very productive committee on a run-first team or take over that backfield altogether, then you want to go get Booker. When the Broncos drafted Booker in the 4th round this year, my colleague Daniel Jeremiah at NFL Network actually said he's the best back on the roster right now. I'm still a C.J. Anderson fan, but we've seen this team loves Devontae Booker. His snap share has increased week after week after week, and he played a bunch this past week where Anderson has been struggling the last couple weeks. I think his yards per carry is only around 3 point something. So Booker right now, he's not going to see a ton of work where maybe Paul Perkins might see a couple more plays here or there in that disgusting committee in New York. But if you want the guy with both the skill set to deliver in fantasy and the upside, Booker's the choice.
Mr. Jordan, you've heard the testimony for Devante Booker. Why is your client, Paul Perkins, the better choice?
Paul Perkins is the better choice for anyone that's watching the games and seeing the level of explosiveness he brings to that offense. They lost a big piece in Shane Vereen out of their pass-catching, backfield option. Bobby Rainey is kind of the veteran nod, but when you watch the tape, Perkins gets that ball, the big play against Minnesota where he went 2 for 72. He gets the screen. He lets his lineman set his blocks. He cuts backfield. He gets all the way up. He kind of tries to cross the safety's body. He does smart football things. That's hard to teach to such a young guy. Now, having that kind of instinct for the game, to me, means he can get his way onto the field a little more. Bobby Rainey's just kind of underwhelming. Yes, he's catching the passes, but he's not really doing anything with them. I love the explosiveness Perkins brings. If fantasy football is about fun and you're looking for a guy, on the back end of your roster, Perkins is that Hail Mary. He could take over that role at some point, and he could really kind of run with things. He could change that ugly backfield committee.
I think, just the fact that Alex knows one of my favorite analysts, Daniel Jeremiah, that I'm leaning towards him, so maybe he can introduce me to him so I can fall to my knees and do the Wayne's World. I'm not worthy thing, because I love Daniel Jeremiah. But also, Perkins, we got Rashad Jennings, even though he says every week he's going to play. I don't know what's going on there. I hate him anyways. Not very good, but he'll be back in there. Rainey's in there. I just like Perkins is kind of, if you had to play somebody like this weekend, I guess, like maybe there's a chance he'd break a long one or something like that. But long term, I'm going to have to lean Booker because if he can get in there once CJ sprains his ankle or does whatever he's going to do to himself, I'm going to have to lean with Booker.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Andrew.
Okay. Well,
Understandable.
That means that Alex has won. I don't know what you've won. We don't really have anything to give you. So I apologize for that, but we want to thank you for your time, and hopefully you're able to help some other fantasy owners out there. Andrew, thank you as well. Before we wrap things up, let me ask the winner. I'm going to start with the winner, unless you want to defer. Please remind everybody how they can find you on all your social media, what you do for a living, and why they should be aware of you if they're not already.
Well, first, nod to Mr. Jordan for a wonderful competition. Lots of excellent jabs at all of my players and good analysis as well. But you can find me at NFL.com/Gelhar, Gelhar. That's where all my articles will be. I produce the NFL Fantasy Live podcast, and I'm an analyst on it. That's on iTunes, Stitcher, what have you. And then I'm on Twitter at Alex Gelhar as well, so you can hit me up with questions and see my bad takes and movie reviews on Twitter there as well.
Excellent. And Andrew, would you like to remind everybody?
Right. And before I do that, I should say I fanboyed out really hard when I found out I was going to be on with Alex. You have no idea. I re-downloaded episodes of the Fantasy Live podcast.
Oh, thanks, man.
I gotta listen. But, you know, everyone can get me on Twitter. Everyone can get me on Twitter at @the_ATJ. You can find my writing at InsideThePylon.com. While you're there, there are so many brilliant football minds there. You know, check out all of their work.
Thank you. Both of you guys are always great. Andrew, you killed it both times. And Alex, what an honor. NFL.com, my favorite website. Here.
Well, I just want to remind everybody once again, if you are watching, please subscribe to the channel. Please give us a thumbs up. That means you like the video. Don't be afraid to tell your friends. And if you're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or anything other like that, look for us, Nickel Press TV. Once again, I'm Andy Singleton, People's Pen on Twitter. We want to thank you for tuning in. Hope you're enjoying the new format for this, and hopefully you'll be back next week when we'll have some more exciting guests, and we'll be telling you who those are throughout the week. So, see you then. Take it easy.